Hey, what's up, everyone? My name's Wes. Wow, that's fast, as we are getting into some more fantasy species reviewing today. We're going to be finishing up, or this is part 2 to my Book of Ebon Tides by Kobold Press. For those of you who aren't familiar, this is technically 2014 material. However, you know, if you're on D&D Beyond, the second you decide to put your background in, if it gives you ability scores, it's going to overwrite the ones from these species. So I'm not going to mention what ability scores they give you. Let's get right into it. Starting with our legally distinct quicklings, Quicksteps. If you've never fought a quickling or quickstep, just think of them like halflings, but very Fey infused halflings. Like, not even just Fey infused. Well, it's right in the name. They quick, super quick. I'm talking like Gauss from Warframe quick. As a quick step, your size is small. You have a 50-foot walking speed, or 50-foot, walking speed. Dark vision out to 60 feet, and Fey ancestry means you have resistance against the charmed condition, and I believe you have advantage on saving throws against being charmed. And of course, since you're Fey, magic can't put you to sleep. You're also gonna get, those are just like, your base things, right? Most Fey have the can't be charmed or put to sleep ability. Also, small size makes sense because you're, small size. And then the 50-foot walking speed is really the big one there, plus the dark vision, which everyone's got dark vision these days, right? So you have two special skills. Your first one's called Nimble, and that's going to give you proficiency in acrobatics and sleight of hand. Then we also have Startling Speed up next, which means if you moved at least 10 feet on your turn, attacks against you have disadvantage until the start of your next turn. It's almost like you move so fast that you basically have the Burst Spell on you or Cloak of Displacement because you're just that fast moving. This obviously doesn't work if you're restrained, incapacitated, or if your speed is reduced to 0 for any reason. Lastly, you gain 2 languages. They are Umbral, which is, I think, Underdark, or it's like, instead of speaking Undercommon, people in the Book of Ebon Tides speak Umbral. You also speak Elvish instead of Sylvan, which is, I think, kind of weird. Either way, that's the Quickstep for you. Quickstep, right off the back, I'm like, if you're a monk, you're at 20th level, you're going to have a 80-foot movement speed. If you took the Boon of Speed, that's going to give you 110 movement speed. If you took Squat Nimbleness as one of your feats to also bump your dex, you're going to have a 115-foot movement speed. And there's like 2 feats from Obajima that I know increase your speed, plus something like Mobile or Speedy, or both of them. Not counting magic items, I'm pretty sure you can get to close to like a 200-foot base movement speed without dashing as a quick step, with the right, like I said, magic items and feats. Moving on to our Ratatosk, you're a squirrel, but like, you're basically a squirrel imbued with powers from the heavens, celestial. You have a 25-foot walking speed and a 10-foot movement speed, or a 10-foot climb speed. I haven't looked at, I don't know if they made their way to Tales of Valiant yet, so I don't know if they went with the D&D design of everything's 30 feet regardless of size. So if they update this in the future, it might be 30-foot movement, or 30-foot walking speed and 10-foot climb speed. Not sure. Either way, we're going to move on to their next feature, which is they also gain dark vision out to 60 feet. Very, very common these days. Grounded Celestial. Despite being humanoid, anything that would affect the Celestial will also affect you. So like Detect Good and Evil, for example, or Paladin's Divine Sense, which is casting Detect Good and Evil. You're also going to gain Sharp Tusk, which is just, like I said, your squirrel teeth. You can go all Timmy Turner and bite and munch on someone. Instead of doing 1 bludgeoning damage, they do 1 piercing damage plus an additional d4 of psychic damage. I guess you're rabid. You're a rabid squirrel. You don't need... Oh, you also gain telepathy out to a range of 10 times your level. So level 1, it's 10. Level 5, it's 50 feet. So on and so forth. It doesn't say it's 2-way telepathy, and you don't need to share a language, but the creature needs to know at least one language, which is cool because like elementals typically know either their dialect, subdialect of Primordial, which could be like Ignan, Auroran, Terran, whatever, or Blink Dog speak Blink Dog. It's not an actual language, but because it knows a language, you can communicate with it telepathically, for example. And then we have two subspecies, Ratatosk. The first one is Urukai, Ekorai, which is just Clever Tusk. These guys are actually tiny in size, which means like another adventurer could put you in your pocket. You can just like chill on their shoulder the entire time, which I think is super cute. You're gonna know the Message Cantrip and Vicious Mockery as well. And then once you get to level 5, you're gonna learn Mirror Image. Mirror Image you can cast once per day. Charisma is your spellcasting modifier at the current moment. Like I said, if it ever gets updated, then it would be, you can choose whatever your spellcasting modifier would be. Downside to this though, and there is a downside, is you can only use light weapons or weapons with the finesse property. Any other weapon you're going to have disadvantage on, and you outright can't use like two-handed heavy weapons at all. Our next version of Ratatosk is the Tradvac or Tree Protector. Their size is small, and then they have an ability called War Chatter, not chattering, War Chatter, Mad Hatter, which is once per long or short rest, you can, any creature with, or is it any creature, number of creatures? Okay, so a non-rat attack creature within 30 feet of you has to make a charisma save, or it's going to have disadvantage on its attacks to the start of your next turn. The DC is based off of your constitution, so in case you're not a spellcaster and you decide to play this rocket raccoon sized version of the Ratatosk, I just thought of the coolest combination of probably the ranger from, oh my god, the Vermin Lord Ranger from Grim Hollow, and this Ratatosk, the tiny version. Yeah, you could have like the Ranger be Squirrel and you could play Tippy Toe, which I think would just be the funniest combination for like party members to do. Next we have Erinas, which are like, they kind of look like echidnas, but also kind of look like hedgehogs. You're Sonic and Knuckles at the same time, or one of the other, whoever you choose. Go for Shadow or Silver, I don't care. Maybe even Rouge. Sorry, you're not a bat. But Erinas are another small-sized creature with a 25-foot movement speed, dark vision out to 60 feet, and a 20-foot burrow speed, but you can't burrow through ice, mud, or stone, which, makes sense. And now I believe... Okay, so once again, this is the Book of Ebon Tides, so we get like special Fae-themed species instead of the base ones. So our Erinas aren't regular Erinas, they're actually Spiritfaring Erinas. And they get quills, which replaces one of the base traits that normal Erinas get. Their quills do 1d6 piercing damage to creatures within 5 feet of you. Like when you hit a creature with a melee attack, that same creature will take either 3 if you're not rolling, or that's typically for like DMs when they have that, but 1d6 piercing damage, bonus damage. They have sharp instincts, which means they can't be surprised unless incapacitated by something other than magical sleep. They gain the following spells: Message, Charm Person, and then Enthrall. Wisdom is their spellcasting modifier for that, and they speak Arenan and Umbral and either Elvish or Sylvan. I'd have to go through one of my Kobold Press PDFs to tell you what the base ones does, but because they're not available on D&D Beyond, I'm actually not going to, because then you'd have to homebrew it in yourself. Unless you already did, or unless you're cool with that. However, for most people, we're just gonna stick to what's on D&D Beyond. Alright, next we have Stygian Shades. This is a special Fae version of the Shade. So they have different traits than the regular base Shade, and it starts with, you're either small or medium, you have a base walking speed of 30 feet, dark vision out to 60 feet, and then our first unique feature, Death Mask. All non-undead creatures within 30 feet of you have to make a wisdom save or become frightened of you. this lasts till, actually just, I think it lasts, I believe it lasts a minute. They have the chance to repeat their save at the end of their turns. If they succeed that first save, then they're immune to this for 24 hours. And you can do this a number of times per day equal to your Constitution modifier. This replaces the base Shade's life drain ability. As a action, you can kind of become a ghost. You become translucent. You have a 30-foot fly speed. You are resistant to bludgeoning, piercing, slashing damage, BPS, from non-magical / silvered weapons. If this is the revised rules, I'm assuming it'll just be silvered weapons. You have advantage on ability checks and saving throws against being grappled or restrained, and you can do this once per long rest. Your next ability, Imperfect Death, means despite being humanoid, you are vulnerable to things that affect undead. So you kind of get the worst parts of everything. Smites hit you harder if you ever get hit by a smite, and you're still vulnerable to hold person and command because you're also still humanoid. The benefit of this is that things like Cure Wounds, Healing Word, Revivify will work on you. You kind of see in most undead species, with the exception of Reborn, because they're just considered humanoid, without that little undead trait there. Mysterious Origin is literally just flavor, and then your actual next ability is you have advantage on saving throws against poison and disease, and you have resistance to necrotic damage, but you don't get resistance to poison damage, which is odd. And then lastly, your languages are Umbral, and I think Umbral and one other language of your choice. All right, Sublime Ravenfolk. These are Ravenfolk, but once again, if you don't know what that is, think Kenku or Aarakocra, but the Feywild version or the Shadow Fade version of Ravenfolk. So they might have a couple of different features than the normal base one available to Kobold Press. But let's get into it. Size, medium, walking speed, 30 feet. No dark vision for these birds. However, we're gonna get constant tune, which means you have advantage on saving throws against being charmed or frightened. This replaces a base feature that regular Ravenfolk have. But yeah, a constant tune, not to be mistaken with Karn tune, more like you're humming a tune always in your head. Then we have Cosmic Musician, love that name. You gain proficiency in performance and one musical instrument of your choice. After that, we have Sublime Chord. Sublime Chord, as an action, every creature within 30 feet of you has to make a wisdom save or become charmed by you for 10 minutes. They have advantage if you're in the middle of combat, like most charmed effects do. And you could use this ability once per long rest. You speak Umbral, Common, and Ravenfolk. Second to last, we have our Unbound Sataree, which are kind of like Slods or just other aberrations like Gith, or I don't think Thri-Kreen are considered aberrations. They might be. But yeah, we have an aberration species, which I love. Not the species necessarily, but just having aberrations as an option. Your walking speed is 30 feet. You have dark vision out to 60 feet. Your size is medium. You have proficiency in Arcana. You have advantage on Intelligence Arcana checks. And then you gain proficiency in one of the following skills: History, Insight, Religion. Yeah, History, Insight, or Religion. You always know the closest. So like if you're in a building, it just says confined space, which I am considering dungeon or building. Anything with 4 walls and a ceiling, multiple walls and a ceiling, you know the closest entrance or exit that's non-magical. You have advantage on perception and investigation checks when it comes to finding secret doors, invisible doors, and/or magic portals. This replaces one of the base features that the regular Sataree get. Your ability Unraveling Touch. You choose a creature within 30 feet of you. Okay, as an action, you choose a creature within 30 feet of you, and they have to make a con save. On a failure, the following turns, they have to constantly use their action to repeat the save. If they succeed, then nothing happens the first time, or the effect ends afterwards. But it's basically just making a creature burn their action. You could do this once per long rest. And then languages, you gain Umbral, Abyssal, Infernal, or Void Speech. Okay, yeah. You gain Umbral and either Abyssal, Infernal, or Void Speech. So you're just from the lower planes, or you're from outside of the planes. Lastly, we have our Wyrd Gnomes. Just think your basic gnome. Well, okay, Kobold Press's version of the basic gnome, so they don't go into detail, but I'm assuming you have, dark vision, 60 feet, 30 or 25 foot movement speed. Your size is small. They don't actually say that, but I'm just going off the base gnome. Their abilities, though, are Natural Diviner, which means you gain Guidance, Guidance, Identify, and Augury. As you level up, you gain, Identify at level 3, Augury at level 5. Wisdom is your spellcasting ability for these. I'm assuming they'd be written like Tasha's or the new revised rules where after you use your free casting, if you have spell slots, if you're a spellcaster, you can use your slots for, recasting these. Then we have then you gain Prescience, which is kind of like the Diviner Wizard's Portent. You roll a d20, at the start of your day, you save that number and it can be used on anything, you or foe or ally. The funny part though, if there are 20 Wyrd Gnomes within a mile of you, 20 more Wyrd Gnomes within a mile of you, you gain a +1 to this. And so on and so forth, up to a +5. So if there's 100 Wyrd Gnomes within a mile of you, you gain a +5 bonus to this roll. So, that's kind of bad if you're hoping to use it against a foe. But if you're using it on yourself or an ally, that's great. That's it for the Wyrd Gnome. That's it for the remaining species in this book. So, besides making a super Quickster build, playing Squirrel Girl and Tiptoe, also the Sataree are pretty cool. Being a Shade is kind of cool too. Just like the Durhal, I can never pronunciate how that undead species is. The Shades have the similar version of being undead and healing affecting them as well. Just like, there's quite a few different undead species now on D&D Beyond. It's not just the Reborn anymore, or the Reborn and the Dampier anymore. But either way, there's plenty to choose from if you're into undead or aberrations. So I hope you enjoyed this. Once again, my name's been Wes Where's the Fun. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more Warhammer, D&D, and other tabletop games. And I'll see you next time. Bye.